Laura, thank you. Mr Albanese, as you know, it's been a few years, to say the least, when it comes to relations with China. If you win government, do you believe there can be a reset in relations with Beijing? And what would be the first thing you would do in office? Would you send the Foreign Minister to Beijing, for example?
Well, I think the starting point is that whoever's in government, it will be a difficult relationship. It will be difficult because the posture of China has changed. It is China that has changed, not Australia that has changed. And that needs to be acknowledged, and we need to adjust accordingly. China's more forward-leaning in the region, and that requires an adjustment in our approach. So I don't blame the government, and never have, for the current circumstances. One of the things that I would hope for, though, is that you can have an Australian policy that would be exactly the same on the Uyghurs, on Hong Kong, on Taiwan, on the South China Sea, on human rights, but still have an economic relationship that the Howard government had, and that is important in the region. The rise of China is a fact of our times, and China deserves a great deal of credit for lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. They have achieved that. It's a great economic achievement, the like of which we haven't seen ever in human history. But that presents us with a challenge politically, but also, of course, it's an opportunity for our trading relationship. Doesn't mean that we abandon diplomacy, but I think the US administration put it best when they classified it as competition without catastrophe. We do have competition in our region, and we as a democratic nation stand with other democracies. We stand up for our values, and we should be prepared to not compromise on them at all. But we should also not engage in catastrophe. We should work as much as possible through multilateral organisations. I see our three pillars of foreign policy as being our alliance with the United States, engagement with regional partners, and engagement in multilateral forums, such as the United Nations and its bodies. But one of the problems we've had, I think, in the region is it was very short-sighted for this government to withdraw from aid in the Pacific in the way that they did. If Australia and democratic nations withdraw, guess what? There are others who might want to fill that gap. And we need to ensure that we act in a way that's in our national interest going forward. I think we can do that, but I don't argue that a change of government will simply change the relationship, because that's just something that we have to deal with. But we have to deal with it in a mature way, not by being provocative for the sake of it to make a domestic political point. We need to understand that there are domestic consequences as well.